Okay, so you download Davinci Resolve, you click the Fusion tab, and you guys are thinking to yourself, yes, node-based compositing can be confusing, but it doesn't have to be that complicated, especially when you break it down in a more simpler way, which is what I attempt to do in this video. So if you have any questions, be sure to leave them in the comment section down below. Let's get right into it. With your playhead over your media, you can simply click the Fusion button. If you have multiple pieces of media and you want to take in one particular clip into Fusion, select that particular clip, right-click, select Open in Fusion. Then only that clip will be taken into Fusion. But for this video, we can continue to focus on one piece of media. So now I click the Fusion icon. Now in Fusion, just to quickly go over the layout. You have your media pool, which basically holds all your media. You can drag media from your media pool into the node flow. Despite whatever that clip name is, when you drag it in, it'll just be media and whatever number that coincides with it. Media 1 is by default clip from the edit page, so this would be media 2, and this would be media 3, so on and so forth, and it doesn't matter if it's video or an image. Next to that is the effects panel. Here you can find the different nodes within Davinci Resolve. We go to template, depending on how many nodes or how many effects you have installed. When you click on template, Fusion may come unresponsive for a little while. So now if I hit the drop down on template and go to edit, here you can find different Fusion templates. Going back up to tools and hit the drop down arrow, you'll see all the different categories for the different nodes. When I first got started with Fusion, I would go through these different categories and just pull a node to the node flow, connect it to the media just to see what that node did. And I would just take a note of what it was. Yesterday, you have clips. This basically will show a lineup of all the different clips that you have in Fusion. I only have this one clip on my timeline from the edit page, so that's only showing the one clip for now. The nodes basically just cut off your node flow. Here you have your two viewers. By default, the media out exports your media back to the edit page. So everything within your node flow has to connect back to the media out. Otherwise, at the edit page, it'll be completely blank. So now I'm going to take this output, connect it back to the media out. The two viewers coincide with these two little notches here at the bottom. With this being placed in the second notch, this is basically indicating that I'm in the second viewer. If I was to click on this other notch here, it will light up and then my image will come in the first viewer as well. When working in Fusion, I usually have this set to whatever node that I'm working on at the time. And I leave this one as my composition media out. If you don't want to have both viewers, you can click this icon here. You can still change what's in those viewers by selecting these little icons here at the bottom, or you can use the keyboard shortcut 1 and 2 on the keyboard. I'm going to go back now and reactivate this. Continue with the layout. You have the spline editor. This is where you change the curves of your keyframes. Then you have the keyframes. Here you can actually readjust the keyframes without having to go through your inspector tab and try to readjust them that way. Then you have your metadata, which basically just gives you the readout of whatever your clip is. And then you have the inspector tab. Now here you have your timeline. Kind of. This actually just displays the frames within your clip. Now this clip is much longer and I cut it down. That's why you see this little yellow notch here. This is where it's cut off at on the edit page. And so whatever effects or anything I want to apply to this clip will have to be within these two parameters. This yellow mark here and this yellow mark here. And that's because regardless of where you color clip, the amount of frames within the original clip will still, that data is still present. So if I go back to my edit page, I can always grab the back end of my clip and then stretch it out or shorten it, depending on how long I need the clip for. Then I can click back on the Fusion. Now you see all these frames have been adjusted. Now I'm sitting at frame 87, which is indicated by this number here. This here's your toolbar. These are some of your most used nodes within Davinci Resolve. Then of course you have the node flow, and this right now don't really look like much, but it's a node tree. The toolbar can be customized as well. So say for instance, if I go and I hit Control Space, and type in Magic Mask, which is one I use a lot. But now that I have my node here, I can go over here to the side, right click, select Customize, and create a toolbar. I can give it a name. Then I can grab this node, drag it up, and decide where I want to place it. So I'm gonna place it here with the rest of the mask. So now anytime I come back to the Davinci Resolve and go back into Fusion, instead of me having to go through and search for a node, I can just click it right here and add it to my node flow. If you ever want to return back to the default toolbar, just right click on the side here, and then go to default. So now, what are nodes? So if I hit Control Space, or something like to do Shift Space, pretty much the same thing. You can type in the name of a node that you need. Say for instance, if you want to do text, so type in text, and then bring up a text plus node. Hit add. If you have a previous node selected, like I had the media 1 selected, it will add it to the node flow. And in this particular instance, it creates a merge node. A good way to look at nodes is think of them as basically individual ingredients. So this can be my salt, my pepper, my seasoned salt. Each node has a particular job that it does to give you an overall meal. Each node more or less has one job, but it can be used to do several different things. The merge node's one job is to take two pieces of media and overlay on top of one another. It does this through these different inputs. If I hover my mouse over the yellow input, down the lower left-hand corner, you'll see this says background. You also see it right here around the cursor. It says merge 1 background. What they're saying is this media, which is the video clip, which if I hit 1 on the keyboard, bring it up in my first viewer, that is in the background, basically is behind this text. So if I click on the text node now and activate my inspector, and I click in this little dialog box here, I type in some text. So now the text is in the foreground. So if I highlight this green input, in the lower left-hand corner, you'll see it says foreground. The background input also acts as the default input, basically saying this was here first. So by default, it's going to connect to the background, and anything I added to it is going to be in the foreground, which is the text node. Now, say for instance, I wanted to switch these around, I can right click and go to switch inputs. So now you notice my text went away because now my text is in the background, so it's behind this clip. If I click on the merge node and go into the inspector tab and use the center controls of X and Y and move the clip over, my text is now revealed. If I double click that and reset that, it'll move my footage back into place. I can go back to this merge node. This time I'm using keyboard shortcut of Control T to swap the inputs. So each node does one job and it adds to the overall composition. And so now I'm going to go up here to the toolbar and drag in the background node. If I drag down a node from the toolbar and I don't let go of the mouse, and I bring it to this little line here, which is my node tree, once it turns blue and yellow, I can let go and it will connect. Once again, it created a merge node to connect the background to my media one. This background basically is on top of my footage. Not all nodes when brought in will create a merge. Say for instance, if I grab this blur node here and I bring it to the node flow, it's just going to connect itself to the default input line, which is connecting back to the media out. And that's because if I hold shift and move and grab this node and move it up, this node has an input, which is this little yellow notch here, which basically means I can connect something to it. Nodes like the background node and the text node, which do not have a yellow input, I cannot connect anything to it. So in order for them to be added to my node flow, they will require a merge. Now you may be asking, what is this blue notch here? That's the mask input. I'm gonna click my background node and I'm gonna go over here to the toolbar, and these are my commonly used masks. And the mask basically just limits the effect of a node to a certain range. So now if I click on this background node and then click the ellipse mask, it's going to create a circle. And what this ellipse mask is doing is limiting the effect of this black background to what's in the circle. If I go into the inspector tab and click invert, it's basically going to do the same thing, but on the outside of the circle instead of inside the circle. I can do the same thing with this merge node with the mask input as well. If I hold shift and then remove the ellipse mask, bring it down to the bottom, take the output and connect it to the blue input, although this does look exactly the same, the only difference is whatever is connected to this merge node will be limited. So if I had more nodes connected to this background node, this mask node would affect everything along this little line, which is how you actually isolate the effect of a node from the overall composition. More on that in a bit. Now, what confuses a lot of people when you see something that looks like this, you get to thinking to yourself, hey, yo, what the? When I first began to use Davinci Resolve, I'll basically go through and look at these different nodes, how they connect to one another, and try to understand what the hell was going on. This is actually the node tree from my VHS effect that I released a little while back. It looks like a lot of work. It looks crazy and chaotic, but in the most basic form, basically it reads from right to left. Basically, whatever is over here is affecting what's in front of it. So basically, these nodes here are affecting these nodes. And these nodes are affecting these nodes. And it's basically going from right to left. Again, in its most basic form, these are actually kind of topsy-turvy because things are kind of mixed around. But let me give you a more simpler example. This is more of a simple example. So this brightness contrast node, if I turn up the brightness, the gain, lift, it's affecting the whole composition. It's affecting everything to the left of it. Same thing for the blur. Has no effect on the brightness contrast because it's being placed behind it. So if I turn up the blur, everything just get more blurry. If I turn it down, you can see whatever text I typed in. Text is merged on top of the overall composition. In my background, I went through and changed it to blue. It's basically on top of my footage. So once again, if I go into the merge node and use the transform to move it out of the way, you notice only the background node move, but the like and sub is still there. It's not affected by the merge node that's in front of it. Another thing that made everything kind of click for me and understand it more, let's go up to workspace, go down to layout presets, fusion presets, and mid flow. This will basically turn everything vertical. So I'm gonna highlight this here and then move it over to the side. And so now we'll rework the node tree where more or less it gives you a set of layers. So you can take the, say for instance, take the media one, which is your base layer, put it at the bottom, put this merge down, and then you have the background node. I'm gonna click on the merge and I'm gonna double click this to reset it. So now the merge, the background node, of course, is on top of it because it's in the foreground. Your media is in the background. Same thing for the text. It's on top of the background node. The blur is affecting everything beneath it. Brightness contrast, and then your media out. Switching to a mid-flow really opened my eyes when it came to fusion. It made everything just, for some odd reason, click for me. At that point, I pretty much just need to know what node I need to use in order to get the results that I was looking for. So for a while, when I first got into Fusion, I will move this all the way up to the top and basically would just layer everything on top of my media one. Say for instance, you get into a situation where you just want the text to be blurred, but not the background. If I move this up, I'm gonna hold shift and grab this blur node. I'm gonna place it right here in front of this, well, behind this text. And so now when I use the blur, If I turn this up, only the text gets blurred out. If I go into the merge one now and then move the background over, you'll notice only the text is blurred. Versus if I move this back to where it was, everything gets blurred. So anytime you want to separate the effect of a node, you can use a merge node to basically lay it on the top of your base. And then anything in between the nodes that you want to isolate from everything else and the merge, you can place an effect there. So now this is only going to affect what's to the left of it once again. It's only going to affect the text. From here, if I continue to add more and more nodes, it will overall affect anything that's beneath it, overall affecting the media one. And then if I connect the merge to it and then basically more or less leave it off to the left here and then place a node here in between that node and the merge, it will only affect what's to the left of it. For another example, if I go into the merge one and double click here to reset it and then click on background node, I'm gonna go up to my toolbar, which is now up here at the top. I'm gonna grab this node here, which is the transform. It's gonna connect itself. The transform node and the merge node more or less have some of the same controls in it, but the transform give you more precise controls. You also can change the pivot and things like that as well. So you still do the same thing, but it's give you more control. Something I recommend when building out compositions. Usually I just leave the merge node as it is, and I'll only use it to maybe adjust the composition mode, which is the apply mode or the operator. Other than that, I just use it to layer my footage or layer my different effects. When it comes to Davinci Resolve and Fusion as a whole, there's a lot more I can go over. If you're interested in that, make sure you drop a comment down below.